Dan Wynn and Jason Minix talk exclusively with the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, Jason Garrett. Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds. MyBestBailBonds.com.
Cowboy season does come to an end last night as they lose to Philadelphia 24-22. Let's talk about it with Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds. Coach, certainly not the ending we were all wanting, and we were just talking about that's the kind of game that you can just what-if yourself to death. I imagine you did some of that what-ifing today looking at the game film.
Oh, yeah, no question. I thought it was a really hard-fought ball game on both sides. I thought our guys really battled well and did a lot of really good things in the ball game. One of the best things we've done all year is respond to the adversity of injuries that we've had, really on both sides of the ball, and as well as in the kicking game. I think, again, we handled that really well last night. Kyle Orton stepped in and I thought played a really, really good football game. And, if you step back and evaluate the whole body of work, I thought it was a really, really impressive job that he did. There's a couple throws he certainly would want back. He'd be the first to tell you that. But I thought our whole team responded well at so many different times during this ball game and gave ourselves a chance to win. You think about the the possibility of the 2-point conversion, and we don't get that, but then we get a great defensive stop, and then we have the ball with really pretty good field position and plenty of time to go down and kick the game winner, and then it doesn't work out. So, a lot of things that, you feel good about, and then certainly you reflect back and say, boy, we're awfully close. A great opportunity to win that division by winning that ball game.
Coach, and you're talking about responding. Your players does a great job responding. I thought they played real well yesterday. And you as a team and what your philosophy has been is that a one-possession game. I think you guys played 10 games this season with one-possession game, and 4 of those you lost by 1 point. When you look back and reflect to the season, what would you do differently, and you look at those games, and how would you move forward from there?
Well, it's certainly something that we have to do. I think in 5 of our losses, it was a total of 8 points. That was the difference in those games. 3 1-point losses, a 2-point loss, and a 3-point loss. And so you reflect back, on what happened right at the end of those ball games as to why we couldn't finish them out, and then also you reflect back on what happened leading up to that point, and how we can get better in that area as well. So the fight, the compete, the scratching and clawing that our team displayed is something that we all can be very proud of, and I'm certainly proud to be a part of the group for how they battled throughout the ball game. But again, you have to find ways to make the plays at the end of the ball game that allow you to win. And at times we did that this year, other times we didn't, and we did not do that last night. Philadelphia did, and we have to live with that.
Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett joining us. He's joined us each and every Monday during the Cowboys season. Coach, last 3 years you've gone 8-8, 8-8, 8-8. So fans are obviously frustrated by that. What would you say to fans who ask, where's the progress?
Well, you just have to continue to bang away, and I can certainly understand what they're saying when you have those same records year in and year out. We had 3 great opportunities to win the division, in the last game, and we've been in this situation, a couple years ago back in New York, and then last year in Washington, and then last night, at our home stadium against Philadelphia. And in each of those games, we didn't do what we needed to do to win. And you feel good about being in that situation in Week 17. But certainly, not finishing the job is something we all have to look at and say, we got to find a way to break through. And I think if you look at the commitment of our players and how we go about playing, I think there's a lot of stuff to build on there. I think that was in evidence last night, overcoming a lot of different things that happened to our football team. There's tremendous compete. There's tremendous fight. And I think that gives you a foundation. But having said that, we have to find the edge. We have to find the edge to break through, win a couple of these close games to give us a better record, and have an opportunity to win the division, if not earlier, certainly in Week 17 of the season. And we didn't get that done. And we're going to go back and keep banging away. And everyone needs to know that the commitment that we have as a coaching staff and as a football team is to break through. We're going to do everything we can to do that.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett with us here on the Blitz 1250 ESPN San Antonio. Coach, last night Jerry Jones was steadfast in his commitment to you as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Not so much with other members of your staff. Monty Kiffin comes to mind. Bill Callahan comes to mind. What changes do you think will be on your coaching staff this coming offseason?
Well, again, we're not even 24 hours away from the ball game, and we're going to have to go back as an organization and really evaluate everything that we've done, and try to find ways to get better. So, there's no conversation about staff at this point. We're just, getting through this ball game. We had exit physicals with our players today and exit meetings with them, and that's what you do, on this day. And again, then you step back and you try to figure out how we can get better as a football team.
Coach, and you look at those guys last night that played, there was some young players, or a lot of young players that played well last night. Could you show us or tell us a couple of those guys that stood out in the tape today?
Well, one of the challenging things for our football team was dealing with injuries all throughout the year. And, one of the byproducts of that is that a lot of younger players, backup players, get a chance to play and show you where they are. And, a lot of different defensive linemen over the course of the season. I think we had, over a dozen or so different guys came in during the course of the season. And really the same thing with our linebackers. You look at a guy like Devontae Holloman, who was a strong safety in college, who, came in as an outside linebacker for us and has really done a lot of positive things. He played the Mike linebacker position last night in Sean Lee and Ernie Sims' absence, and really hung in there well. It was a very productive night for him, and a really good learning experience. He'll go back and reflect on this game and really benefit from it. But he really showed up and did a lot of positive things for us. Same thing with some of the backup defensive linemen. I thought as a group, our defensive linemen played as well as they've played all year long. 5 sacks in the ball game and contributing to slowing down LaShawn McCoy. They're such a great running football team, and they made their plays, but I thought our guys battled well, and with a lot of different faces, a lot of new faces up there on the defensive line. And similarly, we have the young safeties playing, Jeff Heath and J.J. Wilcox and those guys just kind of battling alongside of Barry Church. So to give those young guys the experience to play in a game like that will certainly help us going forward. And then when we get some of our starting players back, that certainly will help us as well.
Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett with us. Coach, looking back on it now, was the switch from the 3-4 to the 4-3 the right move for this team?
Well, we'll step back and evaluate, really what we do in all 3 phases of our team from a system standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, and try to make our best evaluations. It's something that we believed in. Again, I think it might be a little bit challenging to judge that based on all the different injuries that we've had. Typically a 4-3 defense is based on, getting great production from your down guys. And, I don't want to talk a lot about injuries as an excuse or an explanation or whatever, but, when you do evaluate, I think that's part of the evaluation, who was available to you for most of the year. And, I thought there were some positive things that came from it. We'll step back and evaluate it as we go forward and make the necessary adjustments.
And obviously, Coach Jason Garrett, you're going to be doing that evaluations. But as you sit here on this Monday, the day after the season ends, and you think about the offseason, what are some of the top priorities, position group-wise, that you want to address this offseason?
Well, again, I think that's premature to get into those discussions. Certainly we have to play better, really throughout our football team. We have to play better defense. We have to play better run defense, better pass defense, better situational defense. I thought one of the best things we did on defense was take the ball away, and in games where we did that, in bunches, typically we won those games and had a lot of success. So that's something that we have to continue to emphasize as we improve those other areas. We'll have to step back and make all our player evaluations as the week goes on and over the course of the next couple of weeks, and start laying out what the priorities are as we go forward as to where we feel like we most need to improve.
And Coach, and talking about evaluations and the injuries that has happened here the last couple of years, are you going to sit down and see why these injuries occur and what is the effect of this? And I guess how do you prevent that down the road?
Well, it's always something we've looked at, and you're always trying to do that. You're trying to put your team in the best position possible, and one of those is to make sure that they're healthy. And so we'll continue to evaluate that. We have a great belief in our strength and conditioning program, but within that and within how we practice and just simply how we do things all throughout the year, are there ways that we can help our team stay more consistently healthy? Because it's a huge factor in ball games. When you're playing with guys who are young or inexperienced because your starting player isn't available, that makes your team different. And there are some benefits to it. You see some of these young guys and hopefully get them valuable experience. But starters are a starter for a reason. And so we'll step back and evaluate that organizationally, see what we can do to get better in that area to keep these guys healthy and on the field for us.
Did you feel like last night you were coaching for your job?
I really never think about those kinds of things. I really just get focused on the task at hand, which is coaching as well as I can coach, and that's always the way I've approached it. That's the way I approached it when I was playing. I don't know that I know how to do it any other way. You come in there and try to do your best at the task each and every day, and try to put the team in the best position possible. I was really proud of so many things that happened in that game last night. We're all very, very disappointed that we weren't able to finish the job and win the NFC East. But there were a lot of positive things in that game that I believe we can build on as a football team.
Coach Jason Garrett with us here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio. And, Coach, the business aspect of football. You see all the coaches today that have lost their jobs. You're keeping yours moving forward. But you look at the cap situation of the Dallas Cowboys. A guy like Jason Hatcher last night said, hey, this is a business decision for him moving forward. How much do you lobby with Jerry Jones on keeping certain players regardless of the cost?
Oh, I don't think it's lobbying. I think you have some real honest discussions about your personnel, and you try to do as good a job as you can with player evaluation, first and foremost, independent of how much a player may or may not make, and then you certainly factor in the salary cap implications of a player. That's just part of the evaluation that you do with your entire roster and with individual guys on your roster. So it's not really lobbying as much as it is. These are the hard discussions that you have. You're really in 32 cities across the league. Once the season ends, you go back to work and you evaluate your roster, and that's you spend a lot of time evaluating players at the Senior Bowl, evaluating players at the Combine, evaluating free agents in the NFL. But the most important evaluations you have to do are the ones on your own football team. So we'll spend a lot of time doing that as players first, and then how they fit in in a salary cap type era.
Tony Romo had the back surgery on Friday. I know when we talked to you on Thursday, you didn't give us a little hint that was going to happen, but he had the surgery on Friday morning. Have you seen Tony since the surgery? How did it go, and when do you expect to see him back on the practice field for you guys? Well,
everyone, by all reports, the surgery went very well, and I was in communication with him over the last few days, and I saw him today. He was at our season-ending team meeting, and he's still obviously recovering from that surgery, but he's been home since Friday night, and again, by all accounts, it has gone well, and he'll go through his normal rehab procedure, and hopefully he'll be ready to roll once we start playing football again some point in the spring or in training camp.
Coach Jason Garrett here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio. You guys end up losing last night, finish 8-8. Have you figured out your vacation plans?
No, I haven't. We've been spending the day, like I said, visiting with players and doing some of the cleanup stuff that you have to do on a day like this. And again, we'll evaluate our players all throughout this week, and then hopefully we'll get a little time to get away from it a little bit here in the next week or so.
Coach, we've appreciated you taking the time to join us each week during the football season. We just wish we were going to get to talk to you some during the playoffs, but I guess we'll see you in Oxnard for sure.
Absolutely. Guys, I've always enjoyed it. You guys are first class, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very
much, Coach.
Okay, guys.
Coach Jason Garrett, brought to you by AA Best Bail Bonds at 225-2121, 225-2121, or online at mybestbailbonds.com.
Get the latest on your Dallas Cowboys. Jason Garrett, Mondays at 4:30. Powered by AA Best Bail Bonds. mybestbailbonds.com.